Welcome back, boys and girls, for Chapter 7 of Running Out of Time, page 48. And let's see how Jessie got her way out of the restroom. And if you're like me, you are thinking this is a pretty exciting book. It's an exciting time to be living in the Cleveland area. Our tribe has won, and they are going to the World Series, and Jessie has gotten out of Clifton. All right, Chapter 7, page 48. Whoosh! Jessie woke to an awful sound of rushing water. She remembered learning about the Niagara Falls and geography. Was this what it sounded like? Confused by the noise, at first Jessie couldn't remember where she was and why she wasn't sleeping cozily in the bed she shared with Hannah. Her whole body ached from trying to balance on the white porcelain chair, the toilet, all night. She wondered if it was safe to move yet. The room was as bright as midday, but Jessie couldn't see any windows, so it was those globe things again, putting out more light than Jessie had ever seen from a candle or lamp. Even though the lights had almost led to her capture the night before, now that she was safe, she decided once again that they were incredible. Heather, is that the ring Jason gave you? Yeah, like it? The voices came from in front of Jessie's little metal stall. She was so eager to see what real 1996 girls looked like that she knocked her elbow against the back of her toilet, getting up. Whoosh! This time the sound came from her toilet. The water swirled powerfully and then disappeared, and in a few moments more came pouring in from the back. Jessie watched it in amazement and felt the pipes that led to the wall. So that was why the toilet's hole wasn't very deep. But where did the water go? Jessie decided it was too much of a mystery, and she went to the door she'd fastened so carefully the night before. Through a crack she could see 3 girls standing before a mirror. One had her hand held out for the other 2 to see. All 3 girls had hair as wild as Jessie's, and Jessie grinned. Her hair fit in without her having to do anything, without her having to do a thing with it. And for the first time she could remember, she could get up in the morning without trying to braid her hair. Jessie tried to see what the girls were wearing to compare it with her own clothes, but it was hard to tell through the narrow crack, and while Jessie was peering out, the girl finished admiring Heather's ring and left. Jessie wanted to follow them, but first she wanted to find an outhouse. She started to unfasten her door and remembered she didn't have to. Minutes later she pushed the whoosh lever and felt quite proud that she had figured out 1996. Finally, stepping out of her stall, Jessie faced the mirror. It was enormous, stretching the entire length of the wall, and unlike all the mirrors in Clifton, it was clear and undistorted. For the first time in her life, Jessie saw herself without waves and lines and blotches. Half fearing this might be another mirror people watched through, Jessie still stared in fascination. Her dark hair, unbraided, swirled around her head like a cloud. Digging through the bag Ma had given her, Jessie pulled out a wooden comb and began yanking it through her tangles. She went slowly, preoccupied with gazing in the mirror. Her eyes, she saw for the first time, were exactly the same color as Pa's in sunlight, greenish with flecks of hazel, but hers were impatient, curious, and she had never seen his look that way. Standing back far enough to see her jacket and jeans, Jessie examined herself carefully so she would be able to compare herself with real 1996 people. The coat Ma called a windbreaker was kind of pretty, even though it looked boyish. She unzipped it far enough to see the thing Ma called a t-shirt. It was yellow and had a huge black circle imprinted on it, with a line and 2 dots inside. It sort of looked like a smiling face, maybe on some stick figure Katie or one of the other little children drew in the dust. While Jessie was staring at herself, she heard another whoosh, and a girl stepped out from one of the other bathroom stalls. Jessie pretended to concentrate on combing her hair, but watched the girl carefully. She had fluffy blonde hair that stood straight out from the sides of her face, almost as though it had been frozen in the wind. Her pants were the things Ma called blue jeans, but they were faded and much tighter than Jessie's, and her purple flowered top looked nothing like Jessie's t-shirt. Patting her hair, the girl stepped to a counter in front of the mirror and turned a knob. Water gushed out of a shiny metal loop. "What's wrong? Never seen anybody wash their hands before?" the girl asked. Jessie didn't know what to say. Could the girl tell Jessie was it used to 20th century? Would she summon the guards? Before Jessie could come up with a good answer, the girl shrugged, pulled a sheet of paper out of a nearby container, wiped off her hands, and threw the paper into a can, and then she left, as though she didn't care why Jessie had been staring. Jessie didn't think the girl was going to tell anyone about her. Still, she decided she'd better leave the bathroom. But first, she tried turning the same knob, and again water came pouring out. What a place the world outside Clifton was! After following the same ritual as the girl before her, even throwing away the paper, as crazy as that seemed, Jessie stepped out into the giant room she had been in the night before. The largest room Jessie had ever seen before. This one was Stewart's store, and it was always crowded with spices, cloth, barrels, and everything else Clifton needed. Only 5 or 6 people could fit inside comfortably at one time. This room was open and airy, with glass in the ceiling that let in bright sunlight. About the only furniture was a cluster of tables and chairs at the other end, where the guards had had coffee the night before. But the room was hardly empty. It was packed with people, maybe 200. Jessie calculated in amazement, more than in all of Clifton, and many of them appeared to be about Jessie's age. They sat along the walls, milled around in the open areas, hovered over the tables, anxious to fit in. Jessie couldn't help staring as she stared at the girl in the bathroom. Many of the other children wore blue jeans, but some jeans were a darker blue than Jessie's, and some were faded almost white. Some were skin tight, and some were so loose it seemed miraculous they didn't fall off. Jessie thought maybe her jeans looked okay. The other children's shirts and jackets were very different, though, many with bright patterns that almost glowed. Jessie's top definitely stood out, but no one else seemed to notice. No one looked at Jessie at all. The other children were too busy talking, laughing, and even screaming. And then he goes, "Who are you going out with tonight?" And we were at the mall, and then Jessie had never heard so many voices at once. It hurt her ears. It would be easy to leave unnoticed, she decided, but she leaned against the wall for a minute longer, trying to get used to all the noise. "Kids, come on, it's your turn for the tour." Jessie turned and saw a woman about her mother's age, dressed in brown pants like a man. She was talking to a group around Jessie. Jessie noticed that the girl called Heather was right beside her. Most of the others got up, but Heather and her friends still sat. Jessie decided to wait a minute before leaving. "Oh, no, you guys too," the woman said. Heather and the other 2 stood up complaining. The woman looked at Jessie. "Why aren't you coming? Do you expect me to carry you?" But Jessie started. The woman thought she was with the other girls. It was on the tip of Jessie's tongue to explain that she wasn't, but the woman was glaring like Mr. Smythe always did before he said, "Do you want a whipping?" Jessie looked around. She didn't see any guards, but they might be just around the corner. What if the woman yelled for one? What if the woman started asking Jessie where did she belong? What if Clifton's men found out where she was? Jessie tried to look innocent. "I'm coming, ma'am," she said. The woman gave Jessie a surprised look, but Jessie followed along, looking meekly at the ground. It appeared she was going to be one of those things called tourists. And how do you think Jessie is going to do as a tourist? All right, these kids are probably, I'm making a prediction, these kids are probably going to be getting a first-hand look at what the people of Clifton Village are doing. So I'm just thinking, I wonder how Jessie's going to feel if that is what happens and she's actually seeing some of the people that live in Clifton. So can't wait to read Chapter 8. Thanks, guys, for watching, and be prepared for a quiz. It's all, you know, it might be coming. All right, thanks.